Now I've got Rob Cornish. Rob, I think you and I spoke maybe a year ago when you reached out Parents' Rights Coalition and found out you were in Durham Region, and I'm curious about what your experience has been and what you're going to share with us today. Welcome to the Grassroots panel.
Thanks very much, Shannon. Can you hear me okay?
Audio is good.
Okay, good. Well, it's been really nice to just be in on another PRCOC summit. I've been to the last two, and it's just been so good to share from other kindred spirits. We're all kind of sharing similar goals and similar values. And it's just always inspiring to me because, we're very focused on our little task here that we've taken on in Durham Region. But I'm really encouraged to hear all the stuff that's going on everywhere because it needs to. So I don't know, Shannon, would you like me just to fire away, or do you want to ask me a few questions? I don't know. What's the best way?
You've got I think around 8 or 10 minutes that we kind of reserve for our grassroots panelists. We'd love to hear from you and what some of your experience and undertakings are and the
Sure.
perspective that you'd want to share with us.
I'd love to do that. So the way I got involved in this was during COVID. There was obviously a bit more time on my hands, and I started doing a lot more reading. Somehow I got connected with Campaign Life Coalition. I discovered they were very into family values and family protecting family interests. And through that, I started reading about what's going on in the schools. And although I had this kind of vague awareness of what was going on, it suddenly became much more into focus. And I was horrified. Spent a lot of time complaining to my wife about all this stuff that was going on. And eventually, uh, I kept wondering, well, why isn't somebody doing something? And eventually I thought, well, oh, I suppose I'm one of those somebodies and I should do something. So, on so many levels, I was incensed. I was actually angry. There's so much that's wrong with what's going on. I'm talking particularly at the school level, which is where I sort of felt convicted about it. It's wrong that public tax dollars are being spent to promote adult ideologies that have nothing to do with education. That's just wrong. Um, Somebody handed me a sheet about a month or two ago at the Million March, actually, here in Durham, um, summarizing all the top salaries on the Sunshine List in Durham at the Durham District School Board. We have 10 to 12 equity officers, each earning close on $200,000 a year. What are these people doing? They shouldn't be spending our money doing this stuff. It's wrong. It's wrong that my family, our family, my two daughters and their kids, they've chosen to send their kids to private schools, and we help them. Between us, we're spending about $40,000 a year on after-tax dollars. That means $60,000 a year, thereabouts. We have to earn as a family just to keep our kids safe from what they would be taught in the public schools. That's wrong. Shouldn't have to do that. If we do have to do that, we should be relieved of having to pay our public taxes for the schools. It's wrong that activist adults are being allowed to foist their pet peeves and ideologies on unsuspecting, vulnerable children, whilst the children are away from the protection of their parents. That's wrong. That should not be allowed. It's wrong that parents are being barred from exercising their God-given right to protect their children. It's just wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. I could probably come up with another 10 items. So out of this was born B2B Durham, and B2B stands for Back to Basics. We had a lot of discussion with my sort of core team about was back the wrong word to use? Shouldn't we be pointing forwards? Well, the progressives are showing us that pointing forwards, as they describe it, is not the way to go. We want to go back to where things started going wrong, and we want to go back to where things were working. So we want to go back to the basics. So, I began to realize as I was chatting to people, there is a massive groundswell of public opinion that disagrees with what's going on in the schools, but they're either intimidated, they're complacent, or they're uninformed. I really think most people have lacked a vehicle by which to express, and a voice by which to express their dissatisfaction. I've also realized just in Durham Region alone, which is quite a big area, but relatively small part of the population, I suppose, there are an amazing number of groups, one way and another, that are producing some kind of action. PRCOC, I've connected by Jessica Street and Jessica Wilkins, with Durham DDSB Concerned Parents. There's a whole bunch of people trying to do stuff. So I started initially getting involved in some of the petitions and the protests that were going on. And very quickly, I realized, wow, you can really get sucked into this. It becomes very busy very quickly. And I just started to think, I wonder if there's a better way to do this. And I'm actually, don't get me wrong, those of us who are protesting and doing the petitions and the detailed stuff now on the ground, I thoroughly endorse that because somebody has to do it. But where I got to in my thinking was, we need to change the rules of the game that's been played. There's a game being played, and we need to change the rules. So at the moment, the activists, they've defined the rules of the game. They've been playing a long game. They've been going at this for decades. And because they've been going at it for decades, and by and large, the population has been complacent, they've trusted the system, they've had stuff to do, they've just let well enough be well enough. The long game players have won the game, that they are now setting the rules, and actually they're winning. So I realized if we want to win back the initiative, we want to win the game, we've also got to play a long game. So when we have played the long game and we've won it, we will then reset the rules of the game. So what is B2B? Back to basics. What's our plan? What we're planning to do is so simple. It's a lot of work, but it's extremely simple. We're a grassroots movement of concerned parents, grandparents, and general community. We're founded by Christians working in Durham Region, only in Durham Region, which is just east of Toronto, for those of you who don't know the area. I'm guessing we got to be well over 1 million people. We spread across 5 municipalities. Our slogan, we're pretty boring in what we're trying to do. It's not exciting what we're doing, but I believe it's highly strategic. Our slogan is education focused, excellence driven. What we really are interested in is going back to a system where the education system is focused on educating our kids well, minus all the ideologies which don't belong in educating children. So it's very boring what we're trying to do. We've come up with a set of core values, which I'll just read to you quickly because I'm not very good at working with Zoom, but to share the screen. Parental rights and input. If you go on our website, which I'll leave with the address in a minute, you can read all this in more detail. Parental rights and input, number 1, we really believe in that. Educational success. We want to go back to reading, writing, and arithmetic. The STEM topics. No more. Just teach our kids to succeed in school. That's what we want. Secure learning environments for everyone. Somebody else referred to that earlier this afternoon. Biological gender integrity. Male, female. Now, we're not saying there's not exceptions to that and there's not issues with a small, very small percentage of the population. But basically, male and female, we're very strong on that. And civic flags only, because it cuts out all the conversation about which projects we can support, which ones we can't. We can all agree to unify around our national and our provincial and our municipal flags. Leave it at that. Those other issues can be resolved elsewhere, nothing to do with the schooling system. So those are our core values. So we we've come up with a set of core values, which we think is pretty easy for lots of people to agree with. Don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Our goal is very simple. Here it is. We aim to find trustee candidates for every riding and ward in Durham Region who support our core values, have them elected in 2026 in both the public and the separate school boards. So that's 11 trustees in the public board, 8 in the separate school board. So we're, it's as much work doing this for 11 people as it is for another 8 in this Catholic. So we're just doing it for both. And we wanted, the separate school boards are almost as bad as the public school boards. So it's very simple. If existing trustees support our core values, then we'll support their re-election. If not, we are going to find trustees who will stand. So what is our plan? We've got 3 major steps. Find suitable trustee candidates, train and support them in getting elected. So we're going to help them to be a good candidate. And then we're going to mobilize tens of thousands of voters to vote for them. That's the challenge. But, the challenge is getting the word out, but we're just running meetings as fast as we can run them. We're asking everybody that we run a meeting with, will you go and host another meeting? We'll come and talk at it, but you run the meeting, you host the meeting. We're exploding this out into the community, and we're trusting by the time we get to October 2026, we're gonna sweep the board clean. That's our goal. It's pretty bold, but we believe we can do it, and we intend to win, and we're organizing as if we plan to win. So that's what we're doing. We do have one ancillary goal. We've deliberately kept everything we're doing very simple. Firstly, it makes it easy for people to understand, and secondly, it's easy for people to adopt, because I don't have the energy to go wider than Durham Region. And Durham Region I can get to it. I can get to everywhere in Durham Region within half an hour by vehicle. That's a manageable target. I'm hoping other groups around the country will look at what we're doing and say, wow, that's not that complicated. Let's just do it. We've all got 2 years to do it. Let's just do it. Let's do it across the country. Wow. Can you imagine the power of that? Now, realistically, we're aiming for 19 candidates who will each win. Realistically, we may not achieve that, but what we're shooting for a definite, we want a majority in every school board so we can get stuff done.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. So that's what we're planning to do. That's us. That's back to basics.
I think your efforts are more and more people are figuring this out and organizing in similar ways, and we're trying to learn from each other as we do that. And a couple of years ago, this issue in school boards was just a sleepy, nobody paid attention to issue, and a handful of a ragtag bunch of us kind of met along the way, and learned an awful lot, and more and more this is a widely recognized problem